Hello, thank you for tuning in. This is the Bocce Broadcast Network. I'm Michael Chaldon. I'm coming to you from the Troy ICC in Troy, New York, with the pre-tournament show for the 2024 MLK Doubles Tournament coming up next Saturday and Sunday, the 13th and 14th of January, from right here in Troy, New York. Let's get started.
Hi, I'm Lou Sheldon. I'm here with this gentleman here.
My name's Fiore Sheldon, Lou's cousin.
Not my brother, which I've been asked many times. We're both members of the Italian Community Center charitable organization in Troy, New York, and we call it the ICC. It's just easier to say that. We'll talk just for a minute about the organization here. It's been around since the I think the early 1940s or maybe late 1930s. I don't remember. And it's been involved with the community, quite substantially over the years. It's been in this location. It has been in this location for several decades, and where we are now is in the Bocce courts, the 4 Bocce courts here. And this addition was built down in the 1980s. I think the early 1980s, and the impetus for that was a gentleman he was the driving force. His name was Al Maroli. We've got a nice picture of him up on the wall as a memorial, and he was the guy. He's the one who brought Bocce to this organization, and in years past there were many tournaments and many leagues. The organization itself, because it's a charitable organization, it is involved with a lot of community support. Fiore, do you want to mention?
It sure is, yeah. They do quite a bit with the high school students, giving scholarships. And each day these courts are used so much. There's special needs people that come here. There's several leagues for elders, and there's a Friday night league, Thursday morning league. Oh God, believe me, they used to have it almost every single day, but it's just fallen a little bit off, but we're coming back. We did a lot of renovation to the courts, and we just finished a hard day today, didn't we, Lou?
Yeah, sure. So getting back to the some of the charitable efforts, they run a soup kitchen. We run a soup kitchen here. There are efforts to, as Fiore mentioned, high school scholarships, the college scholarships. There's a clothing drive, and there are any involvement at all in the community that the ICC seems to be involved in. It's a wonderful organization, and we are starting to get into. We've been in touch with the Special Olympics folks, especially the arm of the Special Olympics called Unified Sports and the Unified Bocce schools around here, and we hope to be bringing that here too as well.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
Yeah, that's going to be good. So that's a little bit about the organization.
Now we're going to talk a little bit about last year's tournament. Last year we had 13 teams, we think?
13, yeah, that's what I remember.
That's what I remember, too. This year, of course, we have 24. So doubled in size, and also, this isn't, well, okay, something like that. This isn't about last year's tournament, but filled up this year in, less than 48 hours?
Yeah, it filled up very quickly, and we had people on the waiting list, and we still do.
Almost immediately, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting a spam call. So last year's tournament, our defending champions are back to defend their title. Marco Signorelli and Pete Russo. Pete is a home player here. We got a lot of good. This club is for its size is very well represented in the tournament circuit.
Absolutely.
We got Pete, the twice defending World Series champ.
Right.
Nick Serra, who won the Cleveland Challenge Cup in 22.
And Nick's team also was the runner-up in the World Series.
In the World
Butch.
Series, right.
Yep.
We have, of course, the 2023 New York State champions, Tony Maiello, Fiore, and the two of us. And we got a lot of other great players. I'm sure.
A lot of good players. We've had a lot of good teams in this tournament. It's not going to be a cakewalk for anybody, that's for sure.
But we'll talk about that later.
Oh.
Last year's tournament was the same format, right? 2 days.
Yes, it was, yeah. No, it was 1 day last year.
Was it 1 day?
It was 1 day. It was a hybrid, so we did the round robin and then the single elimination knockoff. But we also had a consolation bracket, as we're doing again this year. But we're not talking about this year. We're talking about last year, right?
Seems like we should talk about this year.
We could talk about this year
next year. I
figured
I wanted to talk about last year's tournament, but I don't have that much to say about last year's tournament. I hardly remember.
It was our first go at it. We've been trying to reinvigorate the sport of butch here at the ICC. It had its heyday a few decades ago, and then it kind of dwindled off a bit. And we're bringing it back. We've put a lot of work into the courts, and we've got a couple leagues running, and it's coming around. So, and we were very encouraged that this tournament filled up in just within 2 days. So that's telling us something. We've got 4 indoor courts, so we're out of the weather. So we are thinking about when would be convenient to have other tournaments, and we'll get word out about that when we decide. Of course, there are so many tournaments around the country now, so we'll have to look at the schedules and see when it might be least less of a conflict with other tournaments that people want to go to.
Bit of a gamble scheduling tournaments in the middle of January in upstate New York, too.
Well, yeah, it makes it kind of fun. I mean, as long as we don't get an ice storm, I think we're fine. All of the teams, are we talking about this year's tournament yet? Last year's tournament was great. We had good food again, all home cooked food that we made.
Are we returning? Let's see. We're returning all top 4 teams from last year's tournament. I know that. First, of course, the champs, like I said earlier, Pete Russo and Marco Signorelli. This will be Pete's return to play. He's been hurting for at least the last few months, I think.
Yeah, we've been missing Pete on the tournament circuit. I think the last tournament he played was the World Series.
Was the World Series where he won, and I remember by the end of it, he was telling me he could hardly feel his feet. So
well,
it says something.
Yeah, it does. So we're looking forward to having Pete back. So, and hopefully back into our leagues. You mentioned the 4 top teams are coming back. I don't think so. Because when I looked at...
Who's that? Marco and Pete, number 1.
Ezio and Ron Dog are not coming back.
They weren't top 4 last year.
I'll have to look on my charts from last year.
Isn't that the way that it's organized this year?
So talking about this year's tournament.
It's a yes or no question. No? The top 3 at least.
Yes, the top 3.
Marco and Pete, number 1. Nick Serra, Chris Schiffert, number 2. Last year was Chris Schiffert's return to play. He hadn't played a tournament in a couple of years.
Yeah. It's good to see Chris back and in the leagues.
3
was you guys.
Myself and my brother Zachary. Was there a tie for 3rd?
Yeah, there was a tie for third, yes.
Who was the other? Ezio and Ron were the other 3rd place team?
I believe Ezio and Ron, yeah.
I thought Mario and... No?
No, because what we did this year... Do you want me to talk about this now? The seedings? We'll talk about last year. What else you want to say about last year? It was a nice year. The weather was nice.
Last year's tournament was the second tournament that the BBN ever broadcasted. The first, of course, was last year's Black Friday tournament. Well, technically, end of November, so whatever, 14 months ago. And this was the second tournament ever last year that BBN broadcasted. We've come a long way in the last year. This is, of course, the birthplace of the BBN. Our first, however many. This is where I learned to use the equipment. This is where I tested everything. We started out with, this table was 4 feet instead of 6, and it was much less cluttered. And we have continually improved. We've tried, and we're expanding, and the future is bright for the BBN. We got a lot of stuff in the works, but
A lot of new toys here I see for the broadcast.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have much else to say about last year's tournament, I think.
Okay.
I don't think I started with much to say about last year's tournament.
Okay. So that's it for last year's tournament, you think?
That was going to be the transition when I paused.
Well, you can edit it. You could do whatever you want.
Uh-huh. Okay. Now I'm here with Steve Filippone, our resident GC. And we're going to talk a little bit about the work that we've done on the facility and on these courts since last year's tournament.
Retired GC.
You're not retired from here.
No. We have a committee that deals with everything bocce in this facility. And, we're the guys that come down here and we sweep the courts. We pay attention to whatever needs to be done. And in preparation for the tournament, we've spent the last 3 weeks, a day each week. And they weren't in terrible shape, but, they needed some attention. We wanted to get them up to the level that they should be quality-wise for a tournament. So we've swept them. We've added material. I think we added, 400 or 500 pounds of hard true. And
We removed a lot of material, too.
removed a lot of material to put that much material back in. But we've leveled them off. We've rolled them. So rolled them with them. So they're in pretty darn good shape. Probably the best shape I've ever seen them in. And last year, the players that came here, commentary was very good. Everybody said the courts were in fine shape last year, and they're in better shape this year. So hopefully we'll get the same kind of responses from everybody.
We had to call off the Thursday night league or Thursday morning league from tomorrow.
Yeah. The ICC has a group of the elderly members that come in on Thursday mornings and play, but the courts, they're still damp. They're still curing, and we didn't want them to upset the courts for before the tournaments.
Yeah, for those of you who might not be familiar with hard true courts, hard true is basically it's a binder that they use on like tennis courts, somewhere between stone dust and clay, basically. So these courts were originally stone dust. So there's a stone dust base, and then the hard true, when you add water to it, it binds, and it just makes it makes the surface harder and more. It compacts and it holds together better than stone dust would on its own. So, yeah, stone dust base, which has been here for 40 years now. And then over the years, we've gradually mixed in more and more hard true. So, the courts have gotten better.
And our ultimate dream is to put in synthetic courts. But obviously, we're going to have a fundraiser for that.
Or the ICC is going to have to hire somebody who knows how to write grants. But
Absolutely. That would be a big portion of it.
4 60-foot courts here. They're about, we must have measured them before. I think they're 10'8" wide,
You know, I'm not sure.
something like that.
I'm not sure.
So,
But we'd like them to be every bit as good as Gabe's courts.
yeah, the Waterside Club in Phoenix. Yeah, we painted this whole facility last year. Last year, I got about an hour of sleep before the tournament last year.
Took down some old photographs
Halloween
and
party
artwork,
photos.
and we put up some nice Italian posters of the various cities throughout Italy, and we Italianized it. It's a very comfortable facility. We've vacuum swept it for hard true courts. The room can get a little dusty at times, so we've got it spiffed up and clean and ready for a tournament.
We're doing our part.
And more.
Yeah, for many years this was essentially a storage room. So we've got it. We breathed some life back into it, and
Ready for a tournament.
yeah, absolutely.
For those of you coming to the tournament, we are going to talk a little bit about some of the food you'll be eating this weekend. And Fiore is overseeing all that, so I'll let him talk about that.
Yes, we're going to welcome everybody with lots of goodies, starting with lunch on Saturday, because the tournament is starting a little bit late, so people can roll in from afar. And they'll find themselves at a table with some very, very good soups and excellent sandwiches, hot, cold, maybe. And we've sourced our food from probably 5 different places, 6 including my kitchen. So there we're having 120 meatballs, 3 racks of ribs in a beautiful meat sauce with probably just penne rigate, di Cecco, of course.
When are we having that
We
particular
are having
meal?
that night, the first night.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that one. And Sunday, we're going to start out with a kind of a interesting breakfast. We have breakfast pizza, and we have bagels, cream cheese, sfogliatelle. Wow, this is going to be nice.
Nice.
Going to try to get it together with some good coffee. I don't know that there's going to be espresso course. I don't know about cappuccino. We'll try our best. And then Sunday lunch will also be a pretty nice effort by a local market. And there we're going to have some lemon chicken, maybe some eggplant. The third tray may be a surprise, so hold off. It's going to be really good with a lot of salad and excellent, excellent bread, I can promise you, from a local bakery called Placid Bakery here in Troy, downtown Troy. They do a great job.
Is that all?
No, we have some extras. There'll be peanuts on the bar and some desserts too, maybe some tiramisu. We'll see how my shopping legs go.
So we're not going to starve.
We are not going to starve.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I can't wait. It's going to be good. You're going to enjoy it.
Now, folks, the moment many of you have been waiting for. We're going to talk about this year's tournament. You want to go over the basics first, the format and the
Sure.
the rule set?
Sure. So we're going to do the same format as last year. We have originally we were going to have 20 teams, but the 20 teams were filled up like that, and a bunch more people wanted to get in. So we found a way to expand it to 24 teams, and we still have a waiting list. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 4 groups of 6 teams each. Each team, round robin. You play each team in your group once. Based on the results there, the top 3 teams will move on to a championship we call it the championship bracket, and that's a single elimination tournament. And the 4th and 5th place teams will go into a second chance tournament or a consolation tournament.
So all but 4 teams will.
Yes, and the 6th place team in each of the 4 groups, it will be eliminated. So those teams will have played 5 games. Everyone else will play at least 6 games. And the second chance tournament is the same. It's a single elimination knockoff. And the way we're going to do it when we get into the knockoff brackets, once we get into past one round in the championship bracket, then every game will be a money game. And we will actually, if you win a game like in the quarterfinals, you'll get paid then. You get an envelope then, and then you move on and you just try to accumulate envelopes till there's no more envelopes left. So the 2 teams,
So the winner of each group gets a bye?
the winner of each group, yes, I should back it up. Yes, the winner of each group gets some money, and they get a bye.
So you're not missing out on money by getting a bye because you're getting paid for winning the group.
Correct. So you get a bye into the quarterfinals. The other teams, the 2nd and 3rd place teams in each group, have to battle each other to get into that round. Once they're into that round, and they get money for that. They get money for those games.
And are we separating the seating
Yes.
by group, or is it overall seating?
No,
for
it's
the
by
knockoffs?
group. So it's by group. So the winner of Group A is going to have one part of the bracket, winner of Group B, another part C, another part, and D, another
And for the
part.
2nd and 3rd place teams,
We're going to mix the group. So the 2nd place team from, let's say, Group A will play against the 3rd place team from
D.
Group, maybe D or C or B. I don't remember. I can look at my chart, which I've got right here. But anyway, that's how it's going to work out.
And do you want to talk a little bit about how we've tried to, he's done all the work, but he's tried to, learning from, our experience with other tournaments and stuff, tried to separate the teams in the most equitable way possible.
Yeah, so the way I formed the groups, I could have done random draw, but then you might wind up with, unequitable groups or unfair, contests together. You don't want to travel, for example, from Lockport, New York with 2 teams and come here and have to play against each other. So the way I did it is I took, for each group, I looked at last year's results, and I was going to take the 4 semifinalists and have them each in one group so that they didn't have to play each other in group play. One of those teams is not coming this year. So I took the 3 teams, and they're each in a group, and then I took the winner of the consolation bracket. Because
Mario Talone and Tony Roselli.
And Tony Roselli, yeah.
Okay.
So those are the 4
That's what I was confused about earlier.
groups.
I thought that was.
And then I had to take, for example, we have, I think, 5 teams from Rome, New York, and we've only got 4 groups. So the same is true with Mechanicville, New York.
Chicago. Well, Chicago, we have 3.
Well, I'm saying the ones that had more than 4 teams coming from one place, I try to put 1 in each group, and then one of the groups is going to have, obviously, have to have two of the teams from the same place. But places like Chicago or Long Island or Connecticut, I just made sure that they came with 2 teams, let's say. I made sure that they are not in the same group. So after that, the rest was kind of a random draw. But so part of it was, something that I placed because I thought it was fair, and the rest was by drawing. So we have the groups, and I think they're pretty evenly distributed. There's a lot of good teams, and it's going to be competitive.
It's a tough field. The first day of play, each team will play what, 3 games most of them?
3 games.
Everybody's going to play 3 games?
Everybody's going to play 3 games. We are going to, the tournament starts at 11 a.m.
On Saturday.
On Saturday. I am going to be here by 8 o'clock, and the courts will be open for practice at that time.
Unfortunately, we can't open it up Friday night for practice because there's a league that plays here Friday night.
Yes. Yeah, that's true, unfortunately. So we are having, like I said, 8 o'clock in the morning. Excuse me. And at 11 o'clock, the tournament's going to start. So at about 10:45, I will make like announcements, go over the rules, things like that, say a couple of words, and just make sure we're all copacetic, and we'll be ready to go. Do you want me to talk about a couple of the rules? Just mention a couple of the rules.
Sure, briefly.
I mean, we're doing
pretty standard.
Backboard is dead. You can measure any ball at any time. There's 1 Paulino toss. Our courts are surrounded by chain link fences, and as you can see behind me, one of the local rules is that a ball that hits a fence or a fence post and comes back into the court is a live ball, including the Paulino.
Old school.
It's old school. It's old school. And let's see. Any other particular rules particular to here?
I think particular rules we'll go over the day of, but
yeah. I'm going to ask people to, if you're comfortable, to volunteer to ref a game. I think it's good to have a referee in each
speeds
game.
it up. Yeah, of course, no time limit.
No time limit. No.
We don't believe in it.
No. That's about it for rules, I guess.
Games are
going to go to 12 points. Once we're done with so we started to say each team is going to play 3 games on Saturday. So the schedule is going to be, we're going to have food here. We're going to have hot soup and sandwiches for everybody. And that's going to be available probably at noon, I would guess. We're going to play a couple rounds of games. Everybody's going to play 2 games, and then we're going to break, and we're all going to take a break, and we're all going to have dinner together. We have a nice hot meal, home-cooked, nice hot meal that you're going to like. Then we're going to come back onto the courts and play our third game on Saturday, and that will wrap it up Saturday. Sunday we'll come back. We're going to start at 9 a.m. on Sunday and play our other 2 games. When we get here, there's going to be breakfast food. And then at the end of those 2 games, which will be the end of the round robin, we are all going to take a break together and have our lunch, a nice hot lunch on Sunday. It's going to be nice. You're not going to starve, and the food's going to be really good. Then, from then on, we will be into the knockoff brackets. And depending on what time that starts, we might be able to go to a few higher points. Instead of 12 points, we might be able to go to 13 or 14. But we'll decide that at that time. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me. And now, for the moment most of you have been waiting for, and many of you have probably skipped to, we are going to go through the groups and reveal everyone's assigned group mates. Okay, take 3. Our first group, first of 4 groups. Each group, like we mentioned briefly before, is going to have one of the top 4 seeds in it. The top 4 seeds were picked by last year's top 3 finishers, and then the winner of the consolation bracket. First up, Group A is going to be our defending champions, Pete Russo. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry to interrupt your show, but I have a roster update. Pete Russo and Marco Signorelli will not be able to defend their title this year. Still dealing with some health issues, although things are looking up. So we hope to see we hope to see those gentlemen back out on the courts in the spring. In the meanwhile, we have a replacement who many of you will be familiar with. It's going to be another Rome team, our 7th Rome team, and that is going to 6th or 7th. That will be former Tokalana president Russell Johnson, and he will be joined by the 15-year-old phenom Nico Fox, lefty shooter, sticks a lot of balls, and Russell, prolific roller, national competitor, longtime player. These two guys, even though Nico is very young, I imagine these guys have played. I'm trying to rack my memory for specific instances, but I'm sure these guys have played tournaments together. At least I would guess that they have. So, replacing our defending champs with another extremely solid team. Nico Fox and Russell Johnson. There you have it. Joining them in Group A, Milan Tomic out of Chicago, an ABC player, and Brad Thayer out of Long Island. Two well-known players by most of our audience and most of the other players here, for the most part, I assume. Another very strong team, two national competitors. Mm-hmm. Brad won the, what did they call it?
Was it down in Kansas City? Or?
In St. Louis. Brad won it wasn't the Aldo de la Croce, but it was the tournament right before Nationals. I don't remember what it was called. But Brad won that tournament with Nick Emo, and I think Dan Drago and Vince Mancuso.
I think that's right.
Brad, prolific volo player. Hope to see some volos.
Yeah, anybody on the roads, if you see a kind of a Winnebago-like vehicle with the license plate Volo, that's Brad.
That's Brad.
Yep.
Get out of his way. And Milan Tomic, of course, another solid two-way player, product of the American Bocce Company out of Chicago, and a friend and partner in the BBN Midwest. We look forward to having both those guys here. I'm trying to remember if Milan medaled at Nationals this year. I am 99% sure he has national medals. Did he? I think he medaled in mixed doubles. This would have been good research to do before we recorded this. Our third of 6 teams in Group A, Jeff Phelps and Mark Phelps out of Mechanicville.
Two brothers who Jeff has been playing in our league this year. Those guys are there. I'll tell you, Mechanicville has a lot of good players. Some of them don't go to very many tournaments, but these two are they're not an easy out. I know that because I've played in a league with them.
A lot of Mechanicville players. I think it's curated by Chris Schiffer and Tommy Izzo in large part, but they all have a certain brand of. They play quickly for the most part. They don't take a lot of time in between their shots, and if you were to read a transcript of how they talk to each other, you would not think that they were friends.
Yeah.
Strong players, though. Our fourth team in Group A, our very own Fiore Sheldon and my father Lou. No chumps.
We can go to the next.
2 of the 4 New York State club champion. 2 of the 4 from that club championship team. And you guys have been playing together for, 50 years now?
I'll probably be probably more like 35 or 40.
Okay, sure.
I mean, we've been playing longer than that, but we weren't together for a while. But yes.
Also, a bit of a return to action for Fiore. His knee issues and shoulder issues have forced him out of play for. I don't know if you can hear that. It's the soundtrack of Troy. That was a siren. Yeah, Fiore has been forced to. He's been sidelined a little bit more than I know that he would like to be in the past.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But it's
I'm
good
sure
to see him on the court. I haven't played it well, other than the New York State Championship tournament last year, where he put in the shot
he
of
made
the tournament.
The shot of the tournament. He saved
Yes.
the whole thing for us.
He certainly did.
He had to be about an 8-inch point, maybe 55 feet down the court, and he did
Through
it.
traffic.
With the last ball, we were dead in the water.
Yeah.
But Fiore, you two, I'm sure, have won many tournaments together.
Yeah.
And
A few.
a lot of great moments over the last several decades. Excuse me. The Peroni's fighting back. What? I'm getting there. Fiore and Lou Sheldon. Another live dog. Team number 5. Mike Corelli and Sal Marini out of Rome, New York. You've played with Mike before.
Yeah, I played with. He was my partner.
The first Ambassador Cup.
Right.
You guys made it all the way to the finals. I think that was his first tournament ever.
That was his
right?
first tournament, and we made it to the finals. That was fun.
A couple of years ago, and he caught the bug then, I guess.
Yeah, he sure did. Yeah.
So fairly new player. Sal, I don't know how long Sal's been playing.
I'm not sure. I mean, we saw them at a tournament in Rome last year. Talked to them. Had a nice lunch with them. And they seem to be enthusiastic about going to tournaments. So we're looking forward to having them here.
2 competitive players. Rounding out Group A, we have President Paul Calicchia and Tony Porcello. I'm not sure Paul's actually president anymore.
No, he's not. He's not.
Former president of the Tokelana Club.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe he is.
We don't know.
Sorry. Paul.
Either way, either current or former president of the Tokelana Club in Rome, New York. They're a couple hours from here. Host of the World Series, one of the biggest tournaments in the country every year. This year it was the biggest tournament in the country. And one of the most well-represented teams and most well-represented and most active clubs in New York. They have 15 courts there, 9 outdoor, 6 indoor. Pretty similar to this club. So they will, those Rome guys are going to be familiar with the surface, and I imagine they'll adapt pretty quickly to the courts. Paul and Tony both shoot real hard, and they'll be making a lot of noise. Tony is originally from Amsterdam.
Right.
We don't know where he lives now, do we?
Somewhere near Broadalbin or something, maybe. I'm not sure. Sorry, Tony. Not sure.
We'll call it Amsterdam.
But Tony's dad was a good player too, and he's no longer with us. I'm sorry, but anyway, he was a good friend, and when we first went to Amsterdam, he was one of the ones that was most welcoming, and I'll never forget that. He was always very welcoming to us. And when we mention Amsterdam, we mean Amsterdam, New York, not
Holland,
not the other one, not the Netherlands.
Yes, Tony, another very familiar player to many in these parts of the bocce world. We look forward to seeing both of those guys. Another strong team, very strong group.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll go over. We'll take another look at these groups later, but just at first glance, there's a lot of good teams there. Moving on, Group B. See if I can do this without having to edit. Without messing it up. Good start. Group B, our first team, Mike Paolillo and Zach Cortese. I'm not sure if I know Zach.
They played together at the Tokelana Club doubles tournament that we were at last year.
Okay.
We spoke very briefly, so I don't really know. I'm sorry, I don't really know.
I know Mike. Mike's one of the more active players and tournaments around here, this part of the country, especially out in Rome. I believe Mike plays. I'm sure he plays at Tocolana a lot, but I believe he's a Galliano player. I don't know whether or not you can confirm that.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Or maybe I just think that because last time I saw him was at the Galliano Club. Galliano Club is another club in Rome, right down the street from Tocolana. But yeah, Rome, New York, well represented, like you said, 5 teams here.
I think 5, maybe 6.
One of the more active.
There's a couple teams that have one guy from Rome on the team,
right?
For example.
Certainly in New York, Rome has got to be the most active region of.
I would imagine,
of
yeah.
Bocce,
yeah.
Especially with the Tocolana Club there. Team number 2 in Group B is going to be one of those top 4 teams that I mentioned will be one in each group. It's going to be last year's runners-up, Nick Serra and Chris Schiffert. Both play in leagues here and are members here at the ICC, but are originally from Mechanicville.
Well, Nick is from Rome, actually, originally.
Okay. He lives in Mechanicville now?
Yes.
Yeah, Nick was the runner-up. He was on the runner-up team, second-place team from the World Series, and he won. He was on the winning team for the Cleveland Challenge Cup last year. Chris does not travel a lot for tournaments anymore, but when he plays, he does very well. Nick is a very strong pointer. Chris, both of them are very strong two-way players. Nick will be pointing, Chris will be shooting, I imagine, until one of them gets frustrated. But either way, I expect to see them go pretty far, pretty late into Sunday.
I think you're talking about two-way players. I mean, I think most people are two-way players. I mean, any of the top players are two-way players. For example, I know Nick
on these doubles teams. Yeah,
Nick was a singles champion at his club for many years, running. So
what club? Oh,
at Tocolana.
At Tocolana.
Yeah.
Yeah, his pictures are all over the walls there. Our third team in Group B, Steve Filippone, who you saw earlier in the preview show. Going to be joined by Bobby Van Kai. I'm not sure if Bobby has played tournament before. 2 fairly new tournament players.
Steve has been in a couple tournaments. He played last year with a different partner, and they were one game out of the money. I know that. And Bobby, this might be his first tournament. So we're looking forward to seeing. Bobby plays in our league. Both of them play in our league, our Monday night league.
Yeah, Steve's going to be rolling. Bobby's going to be shooting, I think.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
And
they could surprise. Yep.
Live dogs. Team number 4. Billy Barnett and Tom Verano. Bill, one of your longtime teammates.
Yeah. Billy and I have played together a number of times, and we probably will again in the future. Billy hosts the doubles tournament at the SMS in Seneca Falls, New York, that we were at, and his son they won the turn. No, they came in. They made it to the finals. They made it to the finals in the tournament, and Billy was pleasantly surprised about that.
He was laughing the whole time.
He said he was hoping his kids scored, or his son's team scored 1 point in a game, and they won. They went all the way to the finals. Anyway, Tom Verano, Bill and Tom used to play together a long time ago, and in fact, I've played on a team. A couple decades ago, I played on a team with Tom Verano. So Tommy, it's going to be nice to see. I haven't seen Tom Verano in a long, long time. An excellent roller. That's another tough team, definitely.
And another very hard shooter in Bill Barnett. So balls are going to be flying. For those of you Midwesterners and West Coast players who are not used to seeing a lot of hard shooting and who question even, I don't shoot that hard compared to these guys, but often when I travel for tournaments, I have people ask me why I shoot so hard. You want to see some guys who really shoot hard.
Just tune in, yeah.
Yeah. You got to watch these guys, including Bill's one of them. Part of the reason why we play the defense is live, because pretty often these balls are going to fly and hit the fence. And even the windows are covered here for good reason. I've seen Paulinos hit the ceiling before.
Oh, I've seen Paulinos go through the ceiling. It's a drop ceiling.
But our fourth team in Group B. Fifth team in Group B. Mike Seraph and Will Gigerich. Another strong team.
Yeah.
Many strong teams.
Yeah.
Mike and Will. Well, Will won. Will and another partner won last year's Super Doubles tournament at their home club. Excuse me.
The Short Street.
The Short Street Club in Lockport, New York.
Mm-hmm.
It's out by Buffalo, just west of Buffalo, or east of Buffalo. And Mike Seraph was on last year, or 2 years, 2021 Cleveland Challenge Cup championship team.
Yeah, on a team called Coda.
Kodacor. With Bill Rosenberg, Paul Lewis Jr., and John Villela.
I believe so. Yep.
And Will is a younger player. New, as far as I know, newer to the tournament circuit. I've just started to see him quite a bit in the last year or so. And every time I see him, he plays very well, and he does well. Another strong shooter. Mike, one of the best pointers that you'll see, and Will, a great shooter and getting better all the time. Those guys always do well, and I wouldn't be surprised to.
No, another very strong team. I mean, we're filled with them.
We are. What's the bursting at the seams? Something like that. Rounding out Group B from Connecticut, the Tufano boys, Greg and Giancarlo, father and son.
Mm-hmm.
They were here last year.
And they I don't have last year's records in front of me, but I remember that they won some games.
I think they beat us.
I played with Greg actually at Methuen on those really super fast courts outside of Boston. And then the next day, it was a four-man team. The next day, we went to Rhode Island and played another tournament together. So it was fun getting to know him, and it was nice to meet his son last year. And again, another good team. So
hard to pick favorites here.
I'm not going to do that.
No, you're not.
No.
I might force you to.
No, when I see broadcasters doing that, it's like, dude, no. I mean, it'd be safe to go with, okay, last year's champions, I'm going to pick them. But I'm not going to.
Okay. Fair enough.
Not going to do it.
There's your Group B. Moving on. Group C. I haven't accidentally revealed an entire group yet since I did it the first time. That's why we had to edit. Our first team in Group C. Jimmy Myers and Mike Corona. You played with Mike last year, right?
Yeah, Mike was my partner last year. Mike smoked cigars, so the name of our team was Cheroot That Butch. What do you think? Pretty good, huh?
You had to explain that one to me last year, and I forgot it. Jimmy Myers, another younger player out of Amsterdam.
Amsterdam, New York, yeah. Jimmy, a very good player, very good shooter. Both of them, another very strong team. I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but another good team.
This part of the country, a lot of these teams are teams that might not travel much outside of this part of the country, so they're going to be, these names are going to be unfamiliar to people who are not from this region. But I've said it for a long time after having traveled for the last few years regularly to pretty much to most of the major tournaments. you'd be hard pressed to find a better talent pool than these guys in the northeastern part of our country. Even though you might not recognize their names, they've
a lot of prize money comes back this way, from tournaments.
That's right. We don't have the largest pool to select from, but very concentrated in terms of talent. Not to say there's not other good regions in the country, but you know what I'm saying.
We're going to get in trouble.
Team number 2, Jimmy Guy and Greg Puccio. Another couple of Rome players.
Yeah.
And another really strong team.
Yeah. Jimmy, I mean, these guys are, they're just strong players. Jimmy, I know, is the president of the Galliano Club, the other club in Rome, and they host a number of tournaments. In fact, their schedule came out just recently, just this week. Their schedule for tournaments this year, so we have to look at that and see which ones we can go to. Greg Puccio, oh my goodness, I mean, I had to play him in a singles tournament a few years ago, and he hit every stinking ball. Every ball. Unbelievable. Anyway, another strong team. And it's nice to see Rome teams coming.
Yeah, very nice to have. A lot of these teams, a lot of these guys, it's going to be either their first time here or they haven't been here in probably 10 or 20 years.
Probably, more like 20.
Like we say, this the scene here, and especially the tournament scene, really grinded to a halt sometime when I was either not born or very young.
Yeah, true.
I don't even remember growing up. I don't even remember there really being tournaments here. Maybe a couple, maybe every once in a while, but
yeah, I don't think I came to more than one tournament here, and that was like 30 years ago or something.
Yeah, so this will be a step back in time for a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Team number 3. Another Mechanicville team, Bob Festa and Greg Smith. I'm not familiar with either of these players. Are you?
No. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know what to say. We don't know them.
Another Mechanicville team, though. I imagine I have yet to meet a weak team from Mechanicville. So.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned that earlier. Yeah. So
another very small club with a very concentrated talent pool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to see. I can't wait to meet them.
Yeah. Team number 4. Maybe there's close enough. Maybe we can get them to return for leagues or something.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Tony Festa. Festa's a pretty common name in Mechanicville, New York, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bob was part of that family. Tony was a great guy. Used to be, I believe, the president of the Italian Fraternal Club, I think, or
Society,
the IFS, the Italian Fraternal Society.
Mechanicville, for those of you who don't know, Mechanicville is about 25 minutes from here.
Yeah.
Very, very small town.
City. It's a city.
Oh, sure.
It's a small city. It is. It's a city.
It's called Mechanicville.
But it's a city.
Okay.
It's called the City of Mechanicville.
Okay.
Honest.
Is that it? That's all we got?
Oh, I was just thinking about all the tournaments in Mechanicville. I mean, they used to have a lot of tournaments, but yeah, we'll move on.
Yeah, we've been recording. This show is going to end up. I was originally thinking this was going to be about a 15, 20-minute thing. It's going to be like an hour. Team number 4. Very familiar names for a lot of you folks, especially out in Chicago, of course. Our only purely Chicago team.
Yeah.
Jesse Morris and Rob Schroeder. Jesse was bronze medalist in women's doubles this year.
At the Nationals?
With Peyton, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Peyton Bochold. And Jesse and Milan Tomic, we mentioned from earlier, I believe medaled in mixed doubles. Jesse, one of the better pointers you're going to see, especially on synthetic courts. I will be curious to see how she is able to adapt to these slower, not terribly slow. They're not that slow.
Well, compared to the synthetics that they play on.
But compared to synthetics, yeah, these hard true courts, it's different. They're not as true, and it's different. But I know she does have experience rolling on courts like that. So
Sure.
that'll be one element for some of these, especially Chicago players. They do have Hart-True facilities, but they are also spoiled rotten with the Highwood Club there in northern Chicago. Debatably the nicest courts in the country.
Nicest courts I've played on, I think.
Yeah.
Outside of Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her partner, Rob Schroeder. Rob, I don't know Rob that well, but I know he was at Nationals. I imagine he competed at Nationals. And another ABC player, which I imagine that means that he's relatively new, at least compared to, a lot of these guys who've been playing for 30, 40, 50 years. Yeah. So a couple unknowns there on that team, couple variables, but
The Chicago energy in Bocce is just incredible.
yeah,
And
younger
you,
team.
You mentioned the ABC, the American Bocce Company, run by Alex Guerra and Andy Zimmerman.
Alicia.
And others. Oh, Alicia Harvey, sorry. And anyway, they run leagues in various places, including bars in Chicago, and they've got portable courts that they bring to these places. And they have...
Some of the venues they play in permanent courts, too.
Do they? Yeah. So, but they have hundreds. They've got a couple thousand, I believe, players in the Chicago area playing in bocce leagues. It's an incredible energy that they bring to tournaments, and they often bring a mass of people to tournaments. So it's nice to see.
And they've recruited a lot of those players from bar leagues to. They've introduced players through the bar leagues to the sport, and then those players have, the more competitive ones, have gone on to. Enter into some of these tournaments, and they've gotten exponentially better every year since we first met them in 2021. So,
yeah. So we're looking forward.
Yeah, another team to look out for, and curious to see what they're able to do on these courts and what they think of these courts in the kind of old school style of bocce. Yeah.
And Rob, just one other note, I found out that Rob has friends here in Troy. So I've encouraged him to ask his friends to come down and watch. So let's hope they come.
Cool. Team number 5. Husband and wife team. We have 3 women competing. I believe we have 3 women competing in this year's tournament. 2 of them in back-to-back teams here. The Valellas, JJ and Lena, another short street team out of Lockport, New York. JJ, I'm trying to think of JJ's accolades, but
He's a really good, solid player. I mean, he's
another great player. You see him
he
everywhere.
often plays with John. He often plays with who is his cousin, right?
Yeah, the other JJ. But he was on the team that was picked. He was one of the 4 that was picked to represent the Short Street Club at the New York State Club Championship this year. Last year, I guess now.
Mm-hmm.
Last year at the Waterside Club there. And another very experienced tournament player, his wife, I don't believe I've met her.
I don't either, but JJ mentioned that she's been playing in leagues for like 35 years or so. So I'm sure she's
ready for the big time.
I'm sure she's ready for the big time. Yeah.
So a couple. This group is a bit of a question mark, as far from my.
Well, we have one more team to go, right?
Yeah, we do have one more team to go. But this group, to my knowledge, whatever. I don't know what's going on with this group. The last team is going to be one of our top 4 teams that we said returning from last year. It's going to be myself and my brother. Last year's second runners-up, the third-place team. And I did not realize that we were in this group until we got to the end here. And now I'm thinking, I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
My brother, of course, coming out of the city now, he does not get to play much, but when he does very well. So he's a very good pointer and a good shooter when he has to. So we'll see if we can put it together. We'll have a shot. Moving on.
Part of their march to the semifinals last year involved beating me and my partner.
Yeah, weren't you up like 10-0 or something?
We were up 10-0 and we lost
12-10.
12-10. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Great
Oops.
comeback. Very proud of these two young men.
Uh-huh. Our fourth and final group, Group D. Team number 1, Group D, is going to be Fred and Mark. Fred Mitchell and Mark Agresta, two players that I am not familiar with.
From Amsterdam. I got a text from Fred asking if there were any spots in the tournament, and at the time there weren't. I put him on the list, the waiting list. One team eventually couldn't make it, so they got in. So they're in.
That's one of the Freds I know. Fred, if I know you, I apologize. We'll figure it out when you get here.
Can't wait to either meet you guys or see you again. Amsterdam also has.
Amsterdam, another concentrated talent pool there.
Yeah. Amsterdam, which is about 40 minutes, 35 minutes west of here.
Mm-hmm.
Amsterdam, New York. There's good players there. So I'm not familiar with these guys' names. I may have played against or with them in a tournament in Amsterdam before. I don't know. So sorry.
We look forward to seeing you.
Yeah.
Team number 2, Paul and Josh. Paul Festa, another Festa, and Josh Iabelli.
Two other guys I haven't met, but from from Mechanicville. They were one of the first teams to get into the tournament, and again, it's another Festa, so
A legacy, a Butch legacy.
must be a Butch
player.
legacy. If they're related to Tony Festa, that makes a lot of sense to me, because he was a great player and a great ambassador for the sport of Butch. That's for sure.
It's in his blood. Probably a tough out. Good luck, Paul and Josh.
Yeah, I think their nicknames are
Oh, is that
Petey and Blar.
Blar? Great name. Team number 3.
Blar backwards would be, well, never mind. That's team number 3, you were saying.
Tony Roselli and Mario Talone. This is the fourth of our top four from last year. The winners of the runners-up tournament. Tony and Mario won our random draw tournament that we had here a few weeks ago. And they were second place in our 2022 tournament. They lost to a couple of really cool guys. Tony and Mario have been playing for a combined 175 years or so.
Well, they probably weren't playing when they came out of the womb. They might have started with
I bet it's close to that, though.
They are experienced players. They're very good. They play here locally.
Still very strong players. They haven't lost the beat.
I was going to say they know the courts well, but the courts have changed because we've been working.
That's one thing, yeah.
So we don't have a home court advantage anymore.
I won't say that, but yes, the amount of work that we've done, essentially completely resurfacing all these courts, we have lost any home court advantage that we may have. Tony Roselli and Mario Talone. One factor there, of course, is going to be the endurance, as that's the reality of it. Having a more veteran team, but
well, they went all the way last year through the.
Yep, they went all the way last year. They went all the way a couple weeks ago. They got better as it went on. Their last game in the finals was their best game. Yeah. So
another strong team.
Yep, strong team. A lot of experience. Yeah, it's going to be a tough out. Not a lot of mistakes there. Team number 4 in Group D. 3 teams left. Bridget and Mike. Bridget Reedy, one of ABC's favorites, and Mike Lacey Sr. out of Long Island, New York. These two played together at the EBL Tournament of Champions up in Toronto. Right? Is that where they played together?
I don't know.
Is that where you played together? I think so. Yeah, Bridget, another younger player, fairly new to the relatively new to the tournament circuit, but I think she played in something like 23 tournaments last year or something.
23 and 23, I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Travels all over, getting better all the time, plays with a lot of energy. And
a lot of energy.
They recently did well somewhere that I cannot think of.
She was just, I saw on their little newsletter there.
She was their.
She won. She was awarded their ambassadors thing.
Yeah, ambassador of the year, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mike, a very active player in the Long Island scene. I know he has a court in his backyard. At least I imagine that's his backyard that I see on Instagram. Looks like a nice court. I'd love to get down there sometime. Similar to these courts, though. He's got I think it's Hartrue. I assume it's Hartrue. Looks like Hartrue court. And, yeah, I'll be curious to see who's shooting on that team. They're both capable. But I don't. Most of these teams, you know who's the shooter. But,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, they both shoot. They both. Mike actually killed us at the tournament at the Waterside Club, the Black Friday tournament. When our team played against him, he was on the Paulino.
That's where I saw him with Pete Rubito.
He was on the Paulino every time.
Yeah. 2 players that play a lot.
And I've seen Bridget play excellent butch.
Yeah. So.
Saw her in Dallas.
They're their second time playing together as a team.
Mm-hmm.
They'll, if they can put it together,
they'll be tough.
They'll be tough. We've said that a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Team number 5 in Group D. Tommy Izzo. Speaking of tough. Tommy Izzo and Jim DeSenza. Jim, I don't know. Tommy, one of our local Mechanicville player, plays in our Monday Night League. Great player. Always shows up with a lot of paint on his clothes, like me. I imagine Tommy will be shooting, although I don't know Jim.
Jim's a good. They're both excellent players. I mean, Jim's a great player. Out of Connecticut, again, I don't know. I think from the Kensington, from the Italian the IPIC club, who have it's either 3 or 4 beautiful courts. I think they're 80 feet, maybe 80 feet plus. I love those courts. Those are great courts that they've got down there. But Jim's a good player. Jim's a really good, solid player. I don't know what else to say. That's just another real strong team.
Okay.
And our last team.
Joe Malache and Filippo Impicciatore. Joe has some sort of position at the Tokelana Club, I believe. He's been described to me as the mouth of the Tokelana Club.
Oh, really?
In a good way.
He was the president. I know he was.
Was he?
He's an ex-president of the Tokelana.
Yeah, another two active players in this. You may not see them travel a whole lot, but two very active players in this part of the country, especially out in Rome, out in Western New York. Joe was one of the tournament directors last year at the World Series, and Filippo helped us do some of our. He's an electrician. He helped us wire.
Oh, did he?
Some of our.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And those two have been playing together for a long time. I mean, they're.
Yeah, I see them everywhere around
It's a
here.
good, solid club. Like team. What am I trying to say? Almost like a marriage. You just they know each other so well. They've played together well, and they're just another tough team. I mean.
Yeah.
We're filled with them.
There you have it. That's our roster of 24 teams. Want to take a look at all of them together. Teams that pop out to me, of course, last year's defending champs, Pete and Marco. Hard to bet against them. Now's the part where you're going to make me pick. Make my.
I don't want to make any picks. I mean, I don't want to do that.
Well,
I'll pick you guys. How about that? Or I'll pick me.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of strong teams.
Really hard to pick who's going to advance out of each of these groups, especially
since we don't know some of the teams. I mean.
Yeah, we don't know some of these teams. The courts have just been completely resurfaced. A lot of these home teams are going to be just as lost as the traveling teams. And whatever happens, we're going to see some really great competitive games, and a really good team is going to win this tournament. And a lot of really good teams are not going to win.
That's right. That's right.
So it'll be a couple days of very strong competition. A lot of these guys have known each other for many, many years. So a lot of camaraderie, a lot of good competition, a lot of good food, good bocce, good music.
Music?
Yeah, we'll play music. Not during the broadcast.
Yeah.
Our broadcast will be Saturday evening. What time are we going till Saturday?
I have us scheduled no later than a 9 o'clock game.
9 o'clock start?
Yes, but you never know because we don't use a timer.
You never do know.
Some games are going to go fast, some games are going to go slow. We're going to play first available court, so we'll keep things moving that way. That's my best guess from years of going to tournaments and scheduling tournaments and things like that.
In regards to the broadcast, though, a lot of that is going to depend, as far as timing, what time we're going to be broadcasting. A lot of that is going to depend on timing of things like when I'm playing, although we do have other people here, BBN, parts of the BBN team, like Milan, and my father here who can help with the production side of things. But we will announce broadcast times on our Instagram at Bocce Broadcast Network, and I will send it out to the email list. Excuse me. If you'd like to sign up for the email list, you can go to boccebroadcast.network. That's our website. And if you scroll down to the bottom of any of the pages, you'll see a section that says news and updates, and you can put your email in, and you will get the email updates that we send out, one of which will be the times for our broadcast next weekend. I think that's about everything that I wanted to cover. Got anything else you want to?
Not really. That's just I'm looking forward to having this group of people. You know, when when we go to a bocce tournament, I feel like it's a party, and the only common denominator for everybody at that party is that they play bocce, and they like the game of bocce, which is great. So it's almost like a family thing, you know. So I'm just looking forward to having a new family here.
I'm looking forward to not having to fly to this tournament.
Yeah.
Looking forward to sleeping in my own bed. Once a year, I get to play a tournament where I can sleep in my own bed.
Yeah, we'll have to have more tournaments.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
So, I think that's going to do it for our pre-tournament show. This show has run much longer than I thought it would. So, if you've watched all of it or part of it, thank you very much. If you're not subscribed to the channel, of course, subscribe, please, to the Bocce Broadcast Network. And if you'd like, after you subscribe, you can turn on the notification bell. You'll get notified on your phone whenever we go live. If you're playing in the tournament, tell your friends and family that they might be able to watch you if you happen to get up on our feature court here, Court 3. And other than that, I think we look forward to seeing all the players on the 13th, next Saturday. You got anything?
No, that's it.
Perfect.
Done.
Well, thank you, Dad. Thanks, Stephen Fiore. And that's going to do it for us from the Troy ICC in Troy, New York. I'm Michael Chaldon. This is my father, Lou. This has been, of course, the Bocce Broadcast Network. And we will see you on Saturday. Thank you.